The sky above Teresh IV turned the color of old bruises. Day One stood outside the hydroponics facility, watching clouds roll across the horizon like an approaching army. He had seen storms before, but nothing like this. The air itself felt wrong, pressing against his skin with an electric tension that made his hair stand on end. His communicator buzzed. It was Ji Woo, from the main operations center. Her voice came through tight, with barely controlled panic. All personnel to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Storm trajectory has shifted. We have maybe 20 minutes. Day One turned and jogged toward the residential sector. Around him, the colony erupted into controlled chaos. Humans moved quickly, but calmly. Years of emergency drills taking over. The Velrothi were different. Their movements were jerky, uncertain. Their large eyes showed too much white. The Velrothi had been humanity's partners on Teresh IV for 3 years now. They were taller than humans, covered in short fur that ranged from silver to deep copper. Their faces were elegant, almost feline, with large eyes that could see in near darkness. They were brilliant engineers and mathematicians, but they were fragile. Their bones were lighter than human bones. Their muscles were built for precision, not power. A fall that would bruise a human could break a Velrothi. Day One reached the main pathway that led to the underground shelters. The wind was picking up now, pulling at his clothes. Small objects that had been left outside began to skitter across the ground. He saw Hyun-Soo herding a group of Velrothi workers toward the entrance. His friend's face was set in grim determination. "Move, move, move!" Hyun-Soo shouted over the rising wind. "Get below ground, now!" Hyun-Soo shouted. Hyun-Soo shouted over the rise. Day One was about to follow when he heard it. A sound that cut through the wind and the chaos. It was a Velrothi voice, high-pitched with terror, coming from the eastern section of the colony, the nursery wing. He stopped. The nursery was in the opposite direction from the shelters. It housed the Velrothi young, their cubs. They ranged from infants to younglings about 5 years old, by human reckoning. There were usually 3 or 4 caretakers on duty. The voice came again, more desperate this time. Then the communicator network crackled to life with overlapping messages. Someone was shouting about structural damage. Someone else was crying. Beneath it all, he could hear the thin, frightened sounds of cubs. Day One pulled up the colony map on his wrist display. His stomach dropped. The eastern section had taken damage from a preliminary wind shear. Part of the covered walkway had collapsed. The route from the nursery to the main shelter was blocked. Ji Woo's voice cut through the chaos on the comm. "Eastern section, report status. Is the nursery clear?" There was a long pause. Then a Velrothi voice, male, strained with pain. "This is Threll. We are trapped." The walkway collapsed. "My arm is broken. We have 15 cubs. We cannot reach the main shelter. We cannot carry them all through the open in this wind. They will die. 15 cubs. 4 caretakers, 1 injured. The storm. Hitting in less than 15 minutes. Day One looked at the shelter entrance. Hyun-Soo was still there, making sure the last stragglers got inside. Safety was 20 meters away. Underground, reinforced, stocked with supplies. All he had to do was walk straight ahead. He turned east instead. "Day One." Hyun-Soo's voice cracked like a whip. "Where are you going?" "Nursery's trapped," Day One shouted back. He was already running. "You can't." The storm. But Day One was gone, sprinting toward the eastern section as the wind tried to push him sideways. Behind him, he heard Hyun-Soo cursing in Korean and Ji Woo's voice on the comm demanding to know what was happening. The colony was built low and wide, designed to minimize wind resistance. Covered walkways connected the main buildings, but the walkway to the eastern section was a twisted wreck of metal and composite material. Day One could see the nursery building beyond it, a squat, rectangular structure that suddenly looked very small and vulnerable. He veered off the path, jumping over a low wall into the open ground. The wind hit him immediately, strong enough to make him stagger. Rain began to fall. Fat drops that stung when they hit exposed skin. Within seconds, it was a downpour. Day One lowered his head and pushed forward. His work boots slipped on wet grass. The wind kept changing direction, buffeting him from different angles. Something flew past his head. A piece of debris, spinning end over end. He didn't look to see what it was. The nursery door was ahead. 50 meters. 40. 30. A gust of wind knocked him flat. He hit the ground hard, the impact driving the air from his lungs. For a moment, he couldn't breathe, couldn't move. The wind screamed over him like a living thing. Then he was up, gasping, mud on his face, and moving again. He reached the door and yanked it open. The wind tried to tear it from his hands. He forced it closed behind him. And suddenly the world was quieter. Not silent. The storm howled outside, and he could hear ominous creaking from the building's frame. But he could hear himself think again. "Hello?" he called out. "Here." A voice from deeper in the building. "We are here." Day One followed the voice to the main nursery room. It was chaos. The Velrathi cubs were clustered together in the center of the room, their eyes huge with fear. They ranged in size from barely knee-high to maybe waist-high on Day One. Their fur was fluffed out, making them look bigger. A fear response. The four caretakers were trying to maintain calm, but Day One could see they were losing the battle. One of them, a male with copper-colored fur, had his arm hanging at a wrong angle. Threll, from the comm, another caretaker, an older female, was trying to comfort 3 crying cubs at once. "You came," Threll said. "How bad is it?" Day One asked, already assessing the room. "The building is compromised. The roof over the eastern corner is failing. Water is coming in through the walls. And the cubs," Threll gestured helplessly with his good arm. "They cannot make the journey, not in this storm. We tried to carry them, but the wind is too strong. They are too light. They would be torn from our arms." Day One looked at the cubs. The smallest ones barely weighed 15 kilos. The Velrathi themselves were light-boned, built for a different world, with lighter gravity than Taresh IV. In this wind, trying to carry the cubs across open ground would be like trying to hold on to leaves in a hurricane. But humans were different. Denser bones, heavier muscles, built for Earth's crushing gravity. "How far to the nearest shelter entrance?" Day One asked. 200 meters to the emergency shelter on this side," another caretaker answered. "But the path is exposed. The wind is over 300 kilometers per hour now. It will only get worse." Day One did the math in his head. 15 cubs. He could carry 3 at once if he secured them properly. 5 trips through hell. In a storm that could kill him on any one of those trips. "I can do it," he said. The Velrathi stared at him. "You cannot," Threll said quietly. "No being could survive 5 trips through that storm." "I'm not most beings," Day One said. He was already looking around for materials. "I'm human, and I'm getting every one of these cubs to safety." Outside, the storm reached its full fury. The building shuddered. A window cracked, and Day One started to work. Day One tore down a curtain from the nursery wall. The fabric was strong, designed to block out the bright sunlight during nap time. He tested it with his hands, pulling hard. It held. "What are you doing?" the older female caretaker asked. Her name tag said Myrn. "Making a carrier," Day One said. He folded the curtain lengthwise, then tied the ends together to form a sling. He tested it across his chest. It would work. It had to work. The 3 smallest cubs were huddled together, clinging to each other. They were the size of human toddlers, with huge eyes and soft gray fur. When Day One approached, they pressed closer together, making small, frightened sounds. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm going to take you somewhere safe." Myrn spoke to the cubs in the Velrathi language, a series of soft chirps and rumbles. Slowly, the 3 cubs allowed themselves to be lifted. Daewon settled them into the sling, positioning them against his chest. He tied the fabric securely, checking each knot twice. "If this works," Threll said, watching with his uninjured arm supporting his broken one, "you will have to come back 4 more times." "I know," Daewon said. He moved to the door. "Wait." Myrn pressed something into his hand. It was a small, light stick, the kind the Velrathi used for night reading. "The storm will be dark. You will need to see." Daewon nodded. He attached the light to his collar, where it could illuminate the path ahead without blinding him. Then, he looked down at the 3 cubs, pressed against his chest. They were trembling. "Hold on tight," he told them. "Don't let go, no matter what happens." He opened the door. The storm tried to kill him immediately. Wind slammed into him like a physical blow, strong enough to make him stagger backward. Rain came horizontal, each drop hitting with the force of a thrown pebble. The world beyond the door was a gray chaos of wind and water and flying debris. Daewon lowered his head and stepped out into it. The first few steps were the hardest. His body wanted to turn back, to seek shelter, to survive. Every instinct screamed at him that going forward was death, but he had 3 lives pressed against his chest, and there were 12 more waiting behind him. He forced himself forward. The path to the emergency shelter was normally an easy walk. 200 meters across, mostly open ground, with a few equipment sheds providing occasional windbreaks. In good weather, it took maybe 3 minutes. This was not good weather. Daewon could barely see 5 meters ahead. The little light stick helped, but the rain was so thick, it seemed to absorb the light. He navigated by memory and by the faint emergency lights that were supposed to mark the path. Half of them were already dead or torn away. Something hit his shoulder. A piece of metal, spinning through the air fast enough to tear through his shirt and cut the skin beneath. He felt blood, hot against his cold, wet skin. He kept walking. The cubs were crying, their small sounds lost in the roar of the wind. He could feel them shaking against him. He wrapped both arms around the sling, holding them tight. 50 meters from the nursery, he hit the first real obstacle. Water was rushing across the path, ankle deep and fast moving. The storm drains had overflowed. Daewon stepped into it and immediately felt the current trying to sweep his feet out from under him. He widened his stance, planting each foot carefully before moving the other. The water was freezing. His legs were already numb. One of the cubs was making a high-pitched, keening sound. He couldn't stop to comfort them. He just had to keep moving. The water got deeper. Knee-deep. The current was stronger here. He felt his right foot slip on the smooth ground beneath the water. For one terrible moment, he was falling. The cubs pressed against him, the black water rushing up. He caught himself. Somehow, his left leg locked, muscles burning with the strain. He straightened, gasping, and kept going, out of the water. The wind hit him again, even harder now. He was lighter without the water weighing him down. The wind tried to use that against him, tried to push him over, tried to lift him. Daewon leaned into it, making himself heavy, making himself an anchor. One step. Another step. Another. He lost track of time. There was only the storm, the struggle, the next step. His world narrowed to just staying upright, staying alive, protecting the small lives against his chest. Then, through the gray chaos, he saw it. The emergency shelter entrance. A concrete structure built into a small hill, designed to withstand anything the planet could throw at it. The door was reinforced metal, painted bright yellow for visibility. 30 meters. 20. Teen. He reached the door and pounded on it with his fist. The sound was lost in the storm. He pounded again. Harder. The door opened. Light spilled out. Hands reached for him, pulling him inside. He heard voices shouting, felt the blessed stillness as the door slammed shut behind him. Ji Woo was there, her face pale. Daewon, what? He was already untying the sling. Velrothi hands took the cubs from him, gentle and quick. The 3 little ones were passed to waiting caretakers who examined them with urgent care. Wet, cold, terrified, but alive. All alive. They're okay. Someone said. All 3 are okay. No. Daewon leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Water dripped from him in puddles. He could feel the cut on his shoulder bleeding. His legs were shaking from exertion and cold. Hyun-soo appeared in front of him, his friend's face a mix of anger and relief. That was insane. You could have died out there. 12 more, Daewon said. His voice was rough, scraped raw by the wind and rain. What? 12 more cubs, 4 more trips. He straightened, even though every muscle in his body was screaming at him to rest. I need to go back. No. Ji-woo grabbed his arm. Daewon. No. You can barely stand. Let someone else. There is no one else. He looked at her steadily. You know that. The Velrothi can't do it. They're not built for this. And I'm the only one who knows the exact route now. I know where the water is deep, where the debris fields are. I can make it. You could die, Hyun-soo said quietly. I could, Daewon agreed. But those cubs will definitely die if I don't try. He could see it in their faces. They knew he was right. They hated it. But they knew. A Velrothi elder approached. His fur was pure white, his eyes ancient. Human Day 1. You do not have to do this. They are not your young. Doesn't matter, Day 1 said. They're kids. That's enough. The elder studied him for a long moment. Then he placed his hand over his heart in the Velrothi gesture of deep respect. Then we will be waiting. For you. And for every cub you bring back. And where? And where? For you. And where? Daewon nodded. He was already moving toward the door. Ji-woo stopped him, pressing a thermal packet into his hands. He cracked it, feeling the chemical heat spread through the packet. He tucked it inside his shirt. The warmth was like a small miracle. Come back, Ji-woo said. It wasn't quite an order. It wasn't quite a plea. I will, Daewon promised. He opened the door and stepped back into the storm. Behind him, he heard someone say, He's really going back out there. And someone else answered, He's human. The second trip was worse than the first. He was already tired. Already cold. The storm had grown stronger. But he put his head down and fought his way back to the nursery. When he opened the door, the remaining cubs and caretakers were waiting. Threll looked at him with something like wonder. You made it back, the injured Velrothi said. Told you I would, Daewon answered. Let's get the next 3 ready. The second trip took longer. Daewon's body was learning what the storm could do, and it was afraid. His muscles didn't want to obey. His legs trembled with each step. The cold had sunk deeper, reaching into his bones. But he made it. 3 more cubs delivered safely to the shelter. The Velrothi were waiting at the door, ready to receive them. He saw tears on Ji-woo's face as she helped unwrap the sling. The cubs were crying, but they were alive. 9 left, Daewon said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. Flat. Mechanical. You need to rest, Hyun-soo said. At least 10 minutes. Get warm. Eat something. No time. Storm's getting worse. It was true. Even in the brief moments inside the shelter, he could hear the wind intensifying. The walls were shaking. Something large hit the exterior with a boom that made everyone jump. The Velrothi elder approached again. He carried a flask. Drink this. It is our warming tea. It will help. Daewon took the flask and drank. The liquid was sweet and spicy, and it burned going down. But warmth bloomed in his stomach, spreading outward, not enough to stop the shivering, but enough to keep going. "Thank you," he said, returning the flask. "No," the elder said softly. "Thank you. No Velrathi could do what you are doing. We will remember this. All of us will remember." Day One didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded and turned back to the door. This time, when he opened it, he was ready for the wind's assault. He braced himself and pushed out into the chaos. The third trip nearly killed him. Halfway to the nursery, a section of prefab building tore loose from somewhere. It came spinning through the air like a giant's playing card. Day One saw it at the last second, a dark shape in the gray storm. He threw himself flat, hitting the ground hard. The debris passed over him, so close he felt the wind of its passage. It crashed into the ground 10 meters away, breaking into pieces. Day One lay there for a moment, breathing hard, his face pressed into the mud. Every part of his body hurt. The cut on his shoulder had opened wider. He could feel blood running down his arm. "Get up." He didn't move. "Get up. 9 cubs. 9 lives depending on you." He got up. The nursery door was harder to open this time. Something was blocking it from the inside. He pushed, throwing his weight against it. Finally, it gave way. Inside, the situation had deteriorated. Water was coming through the ceiling now. A steady drip in the eastern corner that Threll had mentioned. One of the windows had cracked, spiderweb patterns spreading across the glass. The building groaned and creaked with each gust of wind. The 9 remaining cubs were pressed together in the center of the room, as far from the walls as possible. They looked up when Day One entered, their large eyes reflecting the emergency lights. "You came back again," Myrn said. She sounded like she hadn't quite believed he would. "I said I would." Day One started preparing the sling for the next 3 cubs. His hands were clumsy now, numb from the cold. It took him 3 tries to tie the first knot properly. Myrn helped him, her delicate fingers working quickly. "You are injured. Your shoulder bleeds. It's fine. It is not fine. You are not fine. But you keep coming back. 9 more to go," Day One said. Then he corrected himself. 6 more after this trip. The next 3 cubs settled into the sling. They were slightly larger than the first group, heavier. Day One felt the weight settle across his shoulders and chest. 30, maybe 35 kilos total. Not much by human standards. But he was tired. So tired. "The water is deeper on the path now," Threll said. His voice was strained. The pain in his broken arm was clearly getting worse. "I can see it from the window. It reaches to mid-thigh on a human." "I'll manage," Day One said. He went back out into the storm. Threll was right. The water was deeper. Much deeper. And it was flowing faster, draining from the higher ground toward the colony's emergency channels. Day One stepped into it and felt the current grab at his legs immediately. He pushed forward. The water rose to his knees, his thighs. He was almost at hip level when his foot found nothing but empty space. The ground had washed away. There was a hole where the path should be. Day One fell. The current took him immediately, spinning him around. He went under, the black water closing over his head. The cubs in the sling screamed, their cries muffled by the water. "No. No. Not like this." He kicked hard, fighting the current. His boots found purchase on something. He pushed up, breaking the surface. The cubs were coughing, crying, but their heads were above water. He had kept the sling high enough. The current was trying to carry him away from the shelter. Day One angled his body, using his mass to resist. He found another foothold, pushed toward the side of the flood channel. His fingers found something, a protruding rock, rebar from the broken path. He didn't know, and didn't care. He hauled himself up, using strength he didn't know he had left. The cubs were wailing now, terrified beyond words. He pulled them close, checking them even as he climbed out of the water. Wet, cold, shaking, but breathing, all breathing. He stood on solid ground again, water streaming from his clothes. The thermal packet Jiwoo had given him was gone, washed away. The light stick was gone too. He was navigating by memory now. By the faint glow of emergency lights. By instinct, he walked. One foot in front of the other. Mechanical. Automatic. There was no thought anymore. Just movement. Just survival. When he reached the shelter door, he didn't remember the last 100 meters. There was only the journey. And then the door. And then hands pulling him inside. The cubs were taken from him. He heard voices saying they were okay. All okay. Just cold and scared, but okay. 6 more, Day One said to no one in particular. Jiwoo was in front of him. You fell. I got back up. Day One, please. You have to stop. 2 more trips. You won't survive. The storm is at peak intensity now. Look at yourself. He looked down. His clothes were torn in a dozen places. Blood mixed with water. He couldn't tell where from anymore. His hands were shaking so badly, he could barely make a fist. 6 more cubs, he said. Just 6 more. Let me go, Hyunsu said. I'm rested. I can make it. Daewon shook his head. You don't know the route. The path's changed. There's a washout in the flood channel. You'd fall in the same place I did, but you wouldn't know it's there. Then tell me where it is. No time. Storm's going to tear that building apart soon. I can feel it. Another hour, and the nursery collapses. He met his friend's eyes. I have to go now. The Velrathi elder stepped forward again. He held out the warming tea flask. Drink. Build your strength. Day One drank. This time, the warmth barely registered. But he kept drinking, until the flask was empty. A young Velrathi female approached. She was one of the caretakers from the shelter, not from the nursery. In her hands, she held a small, wrapped bundle. Human Day One, my cub is here, safe because of you. This is his warming blanket. Please, take it. She wrapped it around his shoulders. The blanket was small for him, barely covering his upper body. But it was dry and soft, and it held heat. Thank you, he managed. No, she said, echoing the elder's words. Thank you. Please survive. Please bring the rest home. Day One nodded. He tightened the blanket around himself and walked back to the door. This is insane, he heard Jiwoo whisper. He's going to die out there. Maybe, the Velrathi elder said quietly. But he goes anyway. That is what makes humans different. They see the impossible and attempt it regardless. We calculate. We measure. We decide what can and cannot be done. Humans simply refuse to accept cannot. The door opened. The storm screamed its fury, and Day One stepped back into it, heading for the nursery and the 6 cubs who were waiting. The 4th trip broke something inside Day One. Not his will, not his determination, but something physical, something he would feel for the rest of his life. He made it to the nursery. He loaded 3 more cubs into the sling. The next smallest ones. They were all crying now. All of them understanding that their world was ending and only this strange human stood between them and death. The return journey was a nightmare rendered in gray and black and endless cold. The washout was worse. He had to wade through chest-deep water, holding the cubs above his head, his boots barely maintaining purchase on the slippery ground below. Something in his ribs gave way when he climbed out. A crack. A snap. A sudden white-hot pain that made him gasp. Broken rib. Maybe 2. He felt them grinding when he breathed, but he kept walking. The wind found every weakness. It pushed him, pulled him, tried to spin him around. It was intelligent, this wind. It was hunting him, Every gust seemed calculated to knock him down, to finish him. He stayed up. Barely. Step after step after step. When he reached the shelter door, he couldn't knock. His arms wouldn't rise. He just stood there, swaying, until someone inside happened to check the external camera and saw him. The door opened. Hands caught him as his legs finally gave out. The cubs were pulled free. Someone was shouting for medical supplies. "Are they okay?" Day One asked. His voice was a whisper. "They're fine. All fine. But you, 3 more, he said. Just 3 more. No." Jiwoo's face was fierce. "No more. You have broken ribs. You're hypothermic. You've lost blood. Day One. You've done enough. 12 cubs are safe because of you. You don't have to. 3 more, he repeated. He tried to stand. Failed. Hyun-soo knelt beside him. "Brother. Please. Let someone else go." "Can't. The nursery's going to collapse. I can feel it. Every trip, the building gets worse. The walls shake more. The ceiling droops lower. 1 more trip, after this. That's all the time there is. Then you'll die." Day One met his friend's eyes. The roots changed again. "I barely made it through. You're a good man, Hyun-soo. But you're not built for this. None of you are. This is what humans do. We endure. We survive. We push past every limit to protect those who can't protect themselves." The Velrathi elder approached. He looked older now, his white fur seeming to droop. "Human Day One, I must ask. Why? Why do you do this? They are not your species. Not your young. You owe us nothing." Day One thought about it. His mind was slow, thoughts moving through cold mud. "Because they're kids," he said. "That's all the reason I need." The elder's ears flattened against his head, a gesture of profound emotion. "We are not worthy of such sacrifice. It's not about worthy, it's about right." They gave him more warming tea. Someone produced a heat pack and pressed it against his chest. Jiwoo wrapped his ribs as tightly as she could with medical tape, trying to stabilize the broken bones. Every touch was agony, but he didn't cry out. A Velrathi male approached, younger than the elder. His fur was the deep copper of autumn. "Human. My maid is Myrn. She is in the nursery. She carries our first egg. Please bring her home safe." Day One nodded. He hadn't known Myrn was expecting. The Velrathi laid eggs, carrying them in a pouch until they were ready to hatch. It meant she was even more vulnerable than the other caretakers. "I'll bring them all home," Day One said. "All 3 cubs, and all the caretakers. I promise." He stood. His legs shook, but held. The warming blanket was still around his shoulders, soaked through, but better than nothing. He wrapped it tighter. "1 more trip after this," Jiwoo said. Her voice was breaking. "1 more," he agreed. The door opened. The storm was a monster now, a living thing of rage and destruction. The colony's weather station had clocked winds at 420 kilometers per hour before the instruments failed. This was beyond what Teresh IV was supposed to experience. This was apocalyptic. Day One walked into it. He had no strength left. What carried him forward wasn't muscle or bone. It was something else. Something that humans had that maybe other species didn't. The sheer bloody-minded refusal to quit. The knowledge that someone was counting on him, and he would not, could not let them down. The journey to the nursery took forever. The world was nothing but storm. He couldn't see the path. He navigated by feel, by the ground beneath his feet, by some instinct he didn't know he possessed. When he reached the nursery door, it was partially blocked by debris. He had to dig through it with his hands, pulling aside broken metal and composite material. His fingers bled. He didn't notice. The door opened. Inside was chaos. The ceiling in the eastern corner had partially collapsed. Water poured through the gap. The floor was flooded, ankle-deep. The 6 remaining beings, 3 cubs and 3 caretakers, were huddled in the southwest corner, the only relatively dry spot left. Myrn looked up when Daewon entered. Her eyes were huge with fear and relief. "You came back," she said. "The building is failing. We thought we would die here." "Not today," Daewon said. His voice was rough, barely human. "Get the cubs ready. 3 for this trip. I'll come back for the last 3. And the caretakers." "The building won't survive another hour," Threll said. His face was gray with pain. "You understand what that means." "Means I have to be fast," Daewon said. They prepared the 3 largest cubs. These were almost as big as human children. Maybe 40 kilos together. Daewon felt their weight settle into the sling and had to lock his knees to stay upright. "Can you make it?" Myrn asked quietly. "I have to." She touched his face gently with her delicate hand. "You are the bravest being I have ever known. If we die here, know that we died grateful." "Nobody's dying," Daewon said. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. "When I come back, everybody comes. Cubs and caretakers together. We all leave together. Understood?" "How?" Threll asked. "We cannot make the journey. And you cannot carry 6 beings. We'll figure it out," Daewon said. "I didn't come this far to leave anyone behind." He stepped out into the storm one more time. This trip was different. Maybe it was the weight. Maybe it was the broken ribs grinding with every breath. Maybe it was the cold that had finally reached his core, making his heart beat slow and sluggish. Or maybe it was just that he had finally reached the absolute limit of what a human body could endure. Halfway to the shelter, Daewon fell. His legs just stopped working. One moment he was walking. The next he was on his knees, in the mud and rushing water. The cubs screamed, clinging to him. He tried to stand. Nothing happened. His legs wouldn't respond. Get up. He couldn't. Get up. His hands pressed into the mud. He pushed. His arms were shaking so badly he could barely maintain pressure. But slowly, incredibly slowly, he rose. Knees first. Then, one foot, planted. Then the other. Standing. He took a step. Nearly fell again. Caught himself. Another step. The world was fading at the edges of his vision. Going gray, then black, then back to gray. He was dying. He knew it. His body was shutting down. Trying to preserve the core. Trying to survive. No, not yet. 3 more cubs after this. 3 more in the caretakers. Can't die yet. He saw the shelter door ahead. Or maybe he hallucinated it. He wasn't sure anymore. But he walked toward it anyway. His hand touched metal. The door, real. He had made it. The door opened. He fell forward into waiting hands. The cubs were pulled free. Someone caught him before he hit the ground. Voices surrounded him. Loud. Urgent. He couldn't understand the words. 3 more, he said. Or tried to say. His mouth wasn't working right. Daewon, stay with us. Don't close your eyes. But his eyes were already closing. The darkness was warm, almost comfortable. Then someone slapped him. Hard. His eyes opened. Ji Woo's face filled his vision. She looked angry and terrified. "Don't you dare," she said. "Don't you dare die on me." 3 more. You said 3 more cubs, and the caretakers. So get up. 3 more. Yes. The last 3. And Myrn with her egg. And Threll with his broken arm. And the other caretakers who had stayed with the cubs. He couldn't leave them. "Help me up," Daewon said. They didn't want to let him go back out. Ji Woo argued. Hyun Soo begged. The Velrathi elder tried to forbid it, speaking with the authority of his position. But Daewon was already moving toward the door. "The building will collapse," he said. His voice was steady now, though his body was anything but. "Myrn is pregnant. Threll is injured. The last 3 cubs are alone with caretakers who can't protect them. I'm going. Thanks for watching. You can barely stand, Jiwoo said. Tears were running down her face. I can stand well enough. Hyunsoo grabbed his arm. Then I'm going with you. You need help. This time, you need help. Daewon looked at his friend. Hyunsoo was strong, capable, but he was also someone Daewon cared about. And the storm outside was death. No, Daewon said gently. If I don't make it back, someone needs to tell my family what happened. That's you. That's always been you. Don't talk like that. Promise me. Hyunsoo's face crumpled. You bastard. You absolute bastard. Fine. I promise. Now come back alive so I don't have to. Someone had found a better thermal blanket, human-sized and properly insulated. They wrapped it around Daewon. Someone else gave him a new light stick and a waterproof comm unit. We'll stay on the channel, Jiwoo said, attaching the comm to his collar. We'll talk you through it. You're not alone out there. Daewon nodded. Then, he looked at the crowd that had gathered. Velrothi and humans together. All watching him. All waiting. I'll bring them home, he said. All of them. The storm was dying. Not dead, but dying. The winds had dropped to maybe 300 kilometers per hour. The rain was slightly less violent. It was still lethal to most beings. But to a human at the absolute edge of endurance, it was almost manageable. Almost. Daewon made his way back to the nursery one last time. Every step was agony. His broken ribs ground together. His legs threatened to give out with each movement. But Jiwoo's voice in his ear kept him focused. 50 meters to the washout. Bear left. There's less water on the left side. He bore left. Found shallower water. Kept moving. You're doing great. 100 meters to the nursery. Keep going. He kept going. When he reached the nursery, the building was barely standing. The entire eastern wall had buckled. Water poured through multiple breaches. The door was jammed. Daewon had to slam his shoulder into it 3 times before it gave way. Each impact sent white-hot pain through his ribs. Inside, the 6 beings were clustered together in the last dry corner. The 3 cubs were crying. Mirn held them close. Threll stood protectively in front of them, despite his useless arm. The 3rd caretaker, whose name Daewon had never learned, was trying to shore up a wall with broken furniture. You came, Threll said. He sounded like he genuinely hadn't believed it would happen. Last trip, Daewon said. It is impossible, Threll said. You cannot carry 3 cubs and 3 adults. I'm not going to carry you. You're going to walk. I'm going to make sure you make it. He explained the plan quickly. The 3 caretakers would stay together, supporting each other. Daewon would carry the 3 cubs. They would move as a group, with Daewon breaking the wind for the Velrothi, using his body as a shield. You will die, Mirn said quietly, taking the full force of the wind, carrying the cubs, protecting us. It will kill you. Maybe, Daewon admitted. But it's the only way we all survive. So we're going to do it. He loaded the last 3 cubs into the sling. They were the size of human 7-year-olds, and together, they pushed 50 kilos. His back screamed as he took the weight. His legs shook, but he stood. Form up behind me, he said to the Velrothi. Stay close. Use me as a windbreak. When I say move, you move. When I say stop, you stop. Understood? They nodded. Threll positioned himself on Daewon's left, his good arm ready to grab onto Daewon's belt. Mirn was on the right, her delicate hand gripping his thermal blanket. The 3rd caretaker was behind them, hands on their shoulders. Jiwoo, you hearing this? Daewon said into the comm. I hear you. Daewon. The building just registered a major structural failure alert. You need to leave now. Daewon. Going. He opened the door and led them into the storm. The wind hit him like a fist. With the extra weight of the cubs and the Velrothi using him as shelter, it was almost impossible to stay upright. But he leaned into it, making himself an anchor, and pushed forward. Behind him, the Velrathi followed. He could feel their hands gripping him, could hear their frightened breathing. But they were moving. They were surviving. 30 meters to the washout, Jiwoo's voice in his ear. Water's deeper than before. I'm seeing almost waist deep on the cameras, Daewon acknowledged. When they reached the rushing water, he made the Velrathi stop. I go first, he said. Find the safe path. Then I come back for each of you. One at a time. That will take too long, Threll protested. The nursery. Behind them, there was a tremendous crash. They all turned. Through the rain and wind, they could see the nursery building. The eastern wall had fully collapsed. The roof was sagging. It will hold long enough, Daewon said, though he had no idea if that was true. Wait here. He waded into the water, the 3 cubs held high against his chest. The current grabbed at him immediately. But he knew where the hole was now. He angled around it, found the shallowest path, and marked it in his mind. Back to the Velrathi. He grabbed Mirn first, the pregnant female. Hold on to me. Don't let go. He guided her through the water, one careful step at a time. She was light. So light, the current could easily sweep her away. But with Daewon as her anchor, she made it across. Stay here. Don't move. Back for Threll. The injured male was heavier, but the broken arm made him unbalanced. Daewon had to support his weight while navigating the current. Halfway across, Threll slipped. Daewon caught him with his free arm, the motion sending agony through his broken ribs. But he held on. They made it across. The 3rd caretaker was next. Lighter than Threll, more sure-footed than Mirn. Still, the crossing took forever. But finally, all 6 beings were on the far side of the washout. Move, Daewon said. Together, fast as you can. They moved as a unit through the storm. Daewon in front, taking the worst of the wind. The Velrathi behind, sheltering in his lee. The cubs crying against his chest. 100 meters to shelter, Jiwoo said. You're almost there. 100 meters. It might as well have been 1,000. Daewon's vision was tunneling again, the edges going dark. His heart was beating irregularly, stuttering in his chest. His legs were moving on autopilot. Muscle memory and sheer will. 75 meters. Behind them, another crash. Daewon didn't look back. He didn't need to. He knew what it meant. The nursery was gone. But they had gotten out. All of them. 50 meters. Daewon fell. Just went down, his legs finally giving out completely. He hit the ground hard. The cubs crying out as they were jolted. Hands grabbed him. Velrathi hands, delicate but determined. Threll and Mirn and the 3rd caretaker, all trying to lift him. Leave me, Daewon managed. Take the cubs. Get to shelter. No, Threll said fiercely. You do not leave us. We do not leave you. That is what you taught us. That is what humans mean. Somehow, impossibly, they got him to his feet. The 3 Velrathi supported him, taking his weight even though they were fragile, even though Threll's arm was broken, even though Mirn carried an egg. Together, all 6 of them, they stumbled toward the shelter. The door opened. Light spilled out. Hands reached for them, pulling them inside, taking the cubs, supporting the Velrathi, catching Daewon as he fell. All, he said, his voice barely a whisper. All of them, every cub alive. Then the darkness took him. He woke 3 days later in the medical bay. His body was wrapped in bandages. Monitors beeped softly around him. Jiwoo was asleep in a chair next to his bed, her hand holding his. He tried to move and immediately regretted it. Everything hurt. Don't. A soft voice. He turned his head carefully. Hyun-soo was there, looking exhausted. You've got 4 broken ribs, severe hypothermia, multiple lacerations. And the doctors said you were about 10 minutes from complete organ failure when you got back. So, don't move. The cubs? Day One asked. All 15 are fine. Healthy. The caretakers too. Mern's egg is developing normally. You did it. You got every single one of them out alive. Day One closed his eyes, relief flooding through him. The door to the medical bay opened. A procession entered, quiet and solemn. The Velrathi elder led them, followed by Threll, his arm properly set and casted now. Behind them came more Velrathi, and more. The room filled with them. Human Day One, the elder said formally. I speak for all Velrathi on Taresh IV. What you did, what you gave, what you risked. We have no words sufficient to honor it, but we can give you our truth. End quote. He stepped forward, placing something on the table beside Day One's bed. It was a carving. Intricate and beautiful. It showed a figure hunched against wind and rain, small forms clutched to its chest. For your people to remember, the elder said. When the night was mayhem, a human returned drenched, carrying every cub alive. This is what humanity means to us now. This is what Day One means. Protector, guardian, family. Threll stepped forward next. You are named Kethran, one who carries life through death. In our history, only 2 have borne this title. Now, you are the 3rd. And these cubs, he gestured to the doorway, where 15 small Velrathi faces peered in. They are Dalmayun Kure, carried through storm. They will carry your name as part of theirs, always. Mirn approached, her movements gentle. My egg, when it hatches, will know your name before it knows mine. My child will understand that they live because a human refused to abandon anyone. One by one, the Velrathi came forward. Each touched their forehead to Day One's hand, the gesture of ultimate respect. He lay there, overwhelmed, not knowing what to say. Finally, the last of them filed out, leaving only Jiwoo, Hyunsu, and the elder. Why? The elder asked quietly. I asked you before, but I must ask again. Why did you do this? Day One thought about all the reasons he could give, about duty and responsibility and the right thing to do. But in the end, the answer was simpler than that. They were kids, he said. That was enough. The elder's ears flattened in profound emotion. Then humans are more than we ever understood, and we are honored to call you friends. Over the following weeks, as Day One healed, the story spread, not just through the colony, but beyond, to other Velrathi worlds, to human settlements, the human who made 5 trips through a killer storm to save cubs that weren't even his species. The carved statue was placed in the colony's central plaza. Beneath it, a plaque in both human and Velrathi languages. When the night was mayhem, Day One returned drenched, carrying every cub alive. Remember what this means. Remember what humans will do to protect the helpless. Remember that family is more than blood or species. It is choice. It is sacrifice. It is love. Years later, when those 15 cubs were grown, they would tell their own cubs the story about the human who came back again and again, who refused to leave anyone behind, who showed them what it meant to be truly brave. And across the galaxy, when Velrathi and humans worked together, they remembered. They remembered Day One and the night that changed everything. They remembered what it meant to be human.